What's going on, guys? TKD123 back again with a review, and this week we are going over an artist that I have never really heard of in like a lot of a magnitude, in a way where I've heard of him in passing and heard of him here and there on the internet, but I have not really had my time with this artist as opposed to this week. And this artist goes by the name of Russ, and he just released a album this week, so I said, why not, let's just check it out. So today we are reviewing There's Really a Wolf by Russ. And okay, I don't really talk a lot about the artwork on these reviews a lot, just because the artwork is so kind of, I guess, in the background, as opposed to what I really want to talk about, which is the music here, you know what I'm saying? But with the artwork, it's simple, right? I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't say it's bad, I wouldn't say it's corny, but I would say it does spark a level of interest and intrigue, and it does really pop out when you're looking at new stuff right now on the charts of music, and whatever is the way that you kind of find new music and stuff like that. It really does pop with it being so white, and it really just has a nice scraping title, so we'll say that great props on that. And to get into some logistics of the album, it is going to be an hour long, just over an hour. I believe it's an hour and 4 minutes, something like that, and there is 20 tracks in this. So you can see here we have a very, very large amount of tracks with a little playtime, so that means that we're going to get a lot of quick songs, a lot of quick, just kind of in ways that it feels like concept, which I will go into in a little bit, but just overall you're gonna get very, very quick songs for the most part here on this album. So a lot of people recommended me the Russ. A lot of people were saying, hey, yo, Kev, you should definitely check out this new artist, he's dropping a new album, you should definitely keep him on your radar. So I was like, you know what, okay, cool, what I'm saying, I will definitely do that. And it was an off week where I didn't see anything too big drop, so I was like, you know what, let's just do the Russ album right now. And just my initial kind of impression of this album was that you can definitely tell that he's still kind of coming into his own, right? Like, as an artist, he's still coming in to his own skin. There's just a lot of things here that sound a little bit more dynamic, a little bit different, and we tend to not see that with more artists that are more established, right? Where if we have a artist that is kind of established and has been in the industry a few years and stuff like that, they have a distinct sound, they have a distinct style, they have a distinct type of song that they like to make, right? That is clear and apparent. We see it with Drake, we see it with Kanye West, we see it with a lot of different artists. And of course there are those outliers where they will drop an album that's completely out of the blue, like a different album entirely, kind of like what we had with Gambino, where he dropped Wake Up My Love. That sounded so much different than anything else he's ever put out, right? And so that's kind of a thing that you can say is a little bit inconsistent, but overall we have that thing with artists where everything has kind of a same sound for a given artist. And definitely here I feel like Russ is slowly finding that, where or maybe I feel like he's kind of just gonna do kind of a duo, right? Where we have for example, again, to bring up Drake, we have Drake, right, where he can easily make a rap track that sounds dope, right? And we can also get a song from him that's more of an R&B pop vibe to it, like we get both that kind of coexist, right, in the Drake song kind of, I guess, catalog, right? And so with Russ, I feel like he's still exploring that, where I would feel like the best cross for him is, I would say, Johnny Rain and Cozz. Like, if you guys ever heard of those two individuals, you guys know they're completely different. Like they are starkly different in all their ways that they make music and the way they sound, stuff like that. But with Russ, right, he definitely does sound like he can be R&B at times, and then he can also have that sound that Cozz has, where it's very much gritty. It's kind of it just has that distinct sound that Cozz also shares. So we'll say that that's kind of like the mashup I would just kind of say, if you guys never heard of Russ before, or or never really heard of his music like as a whole, I would say definitely expect kind of a Johnny Rain and Cozz kind of like morphing, if you will. Let's talk about There's Really a Wolf, the album as a whole, right? So I went through this a lot of time, spent a lot of time with this. I had a lot of things going on this week. We're going out to graduations, and just being in long car rides to stadiums, whatever. I had plenty of time to listen to kind of myself and really kind of listen to the music in a more, I would say, in a little bit more of just a different way than usual, because usually I'm on the way to work, or I'm coming home from work and I'm thinking about what I'm about to do and like what videos I'm about to make, or I'm going to work and thinking about what events I have to plan for, stuff like that. But this week I was able to just listen to music just solo as is, without nothing else, without anything else on my mind. So I feel like I have a pretty good grasp of this album, and I will say that this album, like, it feels long. It's very weird. So it feels long, But in actuality, you know, when you look at it track by track, yeah, it's long. It's 20 whole tracks, right? But when you look at the playtime, that's extremely important. Where I feel like it's even more important than, you know, tracks. You know what I'm saying? Because your tracks are just really divisions in what you're talking about in a given album, right? But as opposed to the playtime, where that's the entire, you know, time that you're gonna spend from track 1 to track whenever it ends, right? And so here, you know, it's very weird that we have such a low playtime for the track size that it's given. Like it's such a big track size. It's such a small playtime, and it's so weird how, at least to me, it felt like you know, the overall album was long. It felt long. It felt longer than an hour and 4 minutes, at least to me personally, right? And the whole thing about this album is that I tried to explain it to my cousin, right? I felt like this whole album, it feels like it is a part of something that was bigger that he made, and he just kind of took the ends off of them and just kind of gave us a middle section. That's what it honestly feels like to me. Like this whole album feels like I'm missing parts of this album. It feels like I'm missing segments. It feels like I'm missing, I don't know, just, it's kind of like when you go to the movie theater and you go to the bathroom and you come back and you miss like maybe 5 minutes of it or like 2 minutes of it, and you just are completely just lost for a little bit. You're like, wait, what is happening? Like, what's going on? Or, you know, he's having sex with who? Like, you know, it's this whole big thing, right? And it really does kind of, it doesn't ruin the experience, but it kind of does, you know, highlight those speed bumps that are within the album, right? And I feel here with Russ, that's kind of the vibe I got here, right? Where a lot of it just feels like, you know, he was going on something, like he was going to elaborate on something, and then it just gets cut short. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I felt overall. And really, you know, when you're going in this album on a loop, like it feels like, you know, there isn't a definitive start or definitive end to the album. Like it feels like, you know, there's just, it really does honestly feel like the middle section of a bigger album. And that's just how it feels, and that's how, you know, I'm going to continue to kind of just compare it to you guys to kind of explain it, where it just feels like this album doesn't have a definitive end or a definitive beginning, but that does not make it the worst album in the world. Now, you know, a lot of people are saying that, oh, you know, this album is trash, it's garbage, it's boring, right? And, you know, to speak on the boring part, there are a lot of songs here that sound a bit kind of, you know, the same. They sound a bit mundane. They sound a bit dragged out for some of them, you know, or even issues I've had where the song is just, you know, it's either like pretty good or really good, and then just cuts. You know what I'm saying? Like that also happens a lot too, where, you know, to just contribute back to the short, you know, song thing where we have that big track list and little playtime, it's that, you know, there are also those things that get affected when it's a good song, where, you know, it's a really good song, you want to keep going, you want him to elaborate on stuff, and then we go on to a next track. And it's like, you know, I wish that, you know, we got longer, you know, songs here in this thing. But, you know, that's, you kind of, but, you know, I will say, you know, that I don't want to say majority. I don't want to say majority. I don't want it to seem like, oh, this album is just boring, whatever. I don't want to, you know, pawn off like that. But I will say that there is a, you know, portion of these songs here that sound pretty boring. Like, we just gotta be frank about it. It sounds boring. It just sounds kind of bland, whatever. But I don't want that to kind of take away from the really good songs. Like, there is track 2, it's called The Stakeout, and it's basically about him being patient in his career, him being patient in, you know, the long journey to success, right? The long journey to becoming an artist in the industry right now that's like super big and super, you know, just looked down upon, right? Like, you know, that song, it's so relatable, right? And there's a lot of things here in this album that are so relatable in that same way, right? Where you know, you can understand to a more deeper sense what he's talking about, because he's not that far from a lot of, you know, the SoundCloud rappers, or a lot of the rappers that, you know, are still coming up and, you know, still working their way up. Like, he's not far from that, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's still, you know, on that cusp of about to break into the mainstream, but he's just, you know, just right there in that kind of in-between zone where like he can talk about being, you know, in that phase where he's still growing as an artist and still trying to, you know, make sure everyone hears it as loud as possible, and like whoever can, you know, get a just get a hold on this album can do it. Like, he's still kind of in that phase and still can relate to that, and he still portrays that here in this album. So it's definitely something that I feel that a lot of people should not be skipping out on. And there's also just a lot of good sounding tracks, like with Friends and Family. Like, that song is just nice to bump it's just nice to bump, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't have to be, you know, something that is a grandiose or something that has deep meaning. Like, there's just songs that sound good, and there are songs here that just sound good, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want, you know, the other songs that may be kind of just boring or mundane or drab to kind of just you know, to kind of keep you from the good songs, right? I don't want that to happen, you know what I'm saying? Because there is stuff here to like on this album. That's kind of like my final theme I want to, you know, kind of just bring to you guys, where, you know, there are definite tracks here to like, and there are definite tracks here that are worth your listen, that are worth your stream, worth your purchase, if you will be, you know? There are definitely songs here that are worth your ears and worth your attention, right? But of course, there are also things that you can't ignore, which are the long and dragged out and kind of drab sounding songs that, you know, exist on this album. So overall, what do I say? You know what I'm saying? This is my first time listening to Russ. I feel that this is a great first album. I feel like it is something that definitely shows his chops, definitely shows his music ability, definitely shows his singing ability, right? It is, of course, not the best album I've ever heard in my life. There will be times where you'll be, you know, just wanting to just like listen to something else here. But, you know, if you just stick through it for the little portions that sound, you know, bland, sound boring, like I said before, and if you just stick around and pay attention to the good stuff on this album, where I said before, where it's the stakeout, where it's family and friends, where it's losing control and stuff like that, like those really good tracks that either sound good or are a track that you can relate to on a more deeper level, then I say this album is completely worth your listen. And that's all I got today, guys. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share down below. I appreciate all the videos you give me. Thanks for watching, and as always, I got you.